Hi and welcome to Orbit. The sad truth is that every Android Wear smartwatch ever was not comparable to an Apple Watch. The performance was worse, the battery life as well, and every single manufacturer has a different system of health tracking. It is just chaotic. And now there is the Pixel Watch 2, and it seems to solve all of that with a new processor, new sensors, and new software. I tested it extensively. I always loved the Pixel Watch design from the first second, and that hasn't changed till this date. Accordingly, I'm quite happy that they hardly changed anything. For me personally, this is the most beautiful smartwatch and one of the most beautiful watches in general. It's ultra minimalistic, but still friendly and elegant enough to don't be out of place in a fancy location. There's only one size. It's actually optimal for my skinny wrists, but some will find it too small and others too big. At least there's choice when it comes to color: matte black, polished silver and gold like I have it here. The case is no longer stainless steel, but 100% recycled aluminum, and because of that the watch weighs 5 grams less and theoretically is more prone to scratches. However, I have not noticed anything of that. You can hardly see the frame of the Pixel Watch anyway, because the display glass takes up what feels like 50% of the watch. The transition between the metal and the glass is flawless, just like the rest of the build quality, and with 5 atmospheres of water resistance you can go swimming with the watch. The display glass is now more sturdy according to Google, but I don't think that that is the case because it is still Gorilla Glass 5, but I did not have any negative experience with my Pixel Watch 1. It did not scratch or break, and all of my friends that own a Pixel Watch as well did not have a problem with it. It seems that the curvature of the glass allows the watch to slide under your clothing, and therefore it is more protected than some clunky smartwatches. However, if the glass does break, you really have a problem because repairs are complicated. Changing the wristband, on the other hand, is quite simple. Google has developed its own connector. I find it very good. It takes up little space, it is robust, and you can change the look without tools in a short time. I tested a solid fabric and a narrow metal link bracelet in addition to the silicone strap. I ordered my Milanese loop. Unfortunately, it did not arrive yet. My conclusion is that most people, and for most occasions, the silicone band remains the best option. Unfortunately, there's not much choice, but it is getting bigger at least. The display, however, has remained the same size. It looks good, but is nothing special. The resolution is 320 ppi and the brightness is 1000 nits. The display bezels are quite big, but you can never see them because the black level of the OLED display is perfect, and so the transition from the display to the bezel is invisible. You get the impression that everything is a display, although that is definitely not true. Only in a few apps you can see the unpleasant truth, and in these moments you wish for the ultra thin bezels like on the Apple Watch. The most important upgrade to the Pixel Watch 2 is the processor. It's a Snapdragon W5 Gen 1 manufactured in modern 4 nanometers, and therefore it's not only more efficient but also significantly faster. From second one I noticed how infinitely more direct and fluid the Pixel Watch 2 runs. I know every single jerk and judder on the first Pixel Watch firsthand, and the Pixel Watch 2 has none of them anymore. You just click an app and bam, it's there. You scroll through a list and it's perfectly smooth. It's everything I wanted Android Wear to feel like from the start. Even the Google Assistant is now so fast that it's finally making sense to use it. You raise your arm, say something quickly, and oh wonder, it happens. Google is on par with the current Apple Watch, and that just after 2 generations. That is worthy of an applause. You know the saying, less is more. It describes perfectly the software on the Pixel Watch. And on a tiny display on my arm, I don't even want to fight my way through a large menu and a gigantic selection of apps. I just want to see the things that matter. And in my experience, Wear OS does that better than any other smartwatch operating system. There's a nice selection of preloaded customizable watch faces, but there's also an endless supply of third-party ones in the Play Store, and in theory you can even design one yourself. To the left and the right of the watch faces there are widgets. They show minimal information like steps, pulse, the next appointment, weather or shortcut to a timer or my contacts, for example. I use them all the time. Above the watch face there are the quick settings. Below the watch face there are all the messages collected. They are logically sorted and you can easily reply to them or swipe them away. If a message arrives, the Pixel Watch vibrates noticeably with a high quality vibration motor, which is not quite but almost as good as on the Apple Watch. Pressing the crown always takes you back to the watch face. Pressing it once again if you are there takes you to the app overview. By turning the crown you can scroll everywhere. A pretty logical operating system, and I only took 130 words to describe it. However, I have 3 cons. First, Wear OS used to have a gesture-based navigation, and unfortunately it's gone. Now the Apple Watch has one with double tap, and I hope Google will bring it back soon. Second, the app selection is not that big. On the Apple Watch I can directly unlock my bike or door lock, not with the Pixel Watch. But the Pixel Watch has WhatsApp and I can even listen and record voice messages with it. Third, Google does not provide 7 years of software updates for the Pixel Watch, but instead it's 3 years. My biggest concern is not the length of the updates, but there are actually updates to begin with, because in the past Android Wear was not the best when it came to new features and big updates. So let's hope that that changes first. The first Pixel Watch was developed by Google and Fitbit, but not from the start on. With the Pixel Watch 2, however, Fitbit intensively contributed to the sensors and the software, and I would never thought that I would be feeling it this extreme in a positive way. Pretty much every smartwatch on the market checks your pulse every couple of minutes. Sometimes half an hour goes by without even checking, so there's a big loss of data. And sometimes you will miss out on like a bike ride, or you never know what your maximum heart rate is because the watch did not check in that particular moment. The Pixel Watch 2 measures your pulse every second, 24/7, and that's up to 40% more accurate than before because the sensor area is larger. Even if you move a lot while exercising, it can still detect your pulse, and that's something I noticed positively. In addition, it can detect the skin temperature, blood oxygen, an ECG, and tiny changes in sweat on your skin. Through the latter, it is able to detect stress. That's pretty cool if you ask me. Your condition is logged throughout the day, but you don't get a notification when you're in high stress, unfortunately. That would have made a lot of sense because breathing exercises like the Pixel Watch supports can help to lower stress. By far my favorite feature is exercising in heart rate zones. Our pulse is divided in 5 zones. Zone 1 is just sitting. Zone 5 is absolute peak performance. Zone 2 training, for example, cycling or moderate running, is the best for your heart health, and the Pixel Watch 2 always tells me in which zone I am and indicates when I'm leaving zone 2. To avoid overtraining, I can also see my skin temperature. I also have the feeling that the sleep tracking is much more accurate now. It is more in line with my other gadgets. Many watches struggle with deep and REM sleep, but that was not the case here. It also measures your breathing rate, oxygen saturation, and even the heart rate variability during sleep. I did not have Fitbit Premium at first, and that wasn't a problem. You can see the most important things. However, if you are a bit more serious about your training or health, the daily index, guided workouts, and especially the longer trend analysis of HRV and sleep may be worth the $8.99 per month. Subscription models are sadly standard now in the professional health tracking market, and the Pixel Watch is surprisingly close to Aura or a Whoop, but it's not quite there yet. For that, I think they have to do more to enhance my performance. They have to make more suggestions on what I should do to improve on my health. But they are way better than the Apple Watch in that regard. And now let's talk about time. Well, the runtime of the Pixel Watch. A more efficient display, more efficient software, more efficient processor and a larger battery. My expectation for the battery life was gigantic. I have the always on display activated in every single fitness feature. In the evening when I went to bed, I still had 40% of battery left on average, comparable to an Apple Watch. The sleep tracking consumed about 15%. So unfortunately, it was never enough for 2 days, which I secretly hoped for. 45 minutes of running in Zone 2 consumed about 15% battery. That sounds like a lot, but still I went through a whole day. Had I tested the LTE version with eSIM, however, that could have been different. Charging is no longer done wirelessly, but with 4 small contacts. This seems like a step backward at first, and it is in one respect, but I also noticed 2 advantages. First, it's faster. 30 minutes to 50%, but more important, only 20 minutes from 50 to 90%, and even more important than that, the watch stays perfectly cool all the time. There is no heat generation at all. Second, the Pixel Watch 1's magnet was so weak that sometimes the watch wouldn't charge properly for me. The connection now is much tighter. The downside is that you can only charge in one exact direction and you are screwed without this charger. The Galaxy Watch 6 can charge wirelessly on the back of a smartphone. Let's talk about the environment real quick. Apple has now a CO2 neutral Apple Watch, and they achieved this goal primarily through renewable energy and offsets. The Pixel Watch 2 emits only 21 kg, which is as much as a 45 watt power supply. You can of course offset CO2 yourself. I recommend Atmosphere for that. Conclusion. Is it worth it to buy a Pixel Watch 2? Well, it is not that cheap, with 399 euros here in Europe. But it is the best smartwatch I ever reviewed. It does have a nice design, a great performance, good software, and I do think that the fitness features actually motivate me to do sports, and that is the most important thing of them all. I think that you should buy this watch if you want an Android Wear watch, because this is clearly the one you will like the most. But there's still room for improvement. I would like to see thinner bezels on the next generation and an even better battery life, up to 3 days maybe, so I can go through a whole weekend without needing to bring the power cord with me. That's it from this video. I hope you find it helpful. See you in the next one. Bye.